Hey guys, it's Jan here from 9X. Now, I was recently invited to be a guest on a tech talk from Wagon. So it was an online talk where we covered all things from AI, automation, and no code for marketers. The talk was quite interesting. It was a really nice chat with Heloise from Wagon. We got quite some nice feedback from the people that were in the audience listening to the webinar. So we thought we'd get a copy of the recording and upload it to our YouTube channel. So if that's interesting, stick around and enjoy the talk. Cheers.
What are the marketing cases that you most often encounter?
It's definitely, I think the biggest boom from once ChatGPT was launched is really around content generation. So everyone's quite bullish on, okay, now I can create blog articles left, right, and center. I can create my LinkedIn post and I can automate everything. And so there's sort of some challenges coming around with that, but definitely what we've seen most from a marketing point of view has been around content creation being a big use case and something that's really been, I guess, skyrocketing thanks to AI. And from a sales point of view, everyone just wants to crawl LinkedIn. Everyone just wants to use AI to get data from their leads and things like that. So they're probably the two main use cases we've seen a lot.
Okay, great. And are there more specifically a concrete use case that you could share with us? And maybe how did you build it? Like which tools did you use?
Yeah, for sure. So one of the maybe more of recent successful implementations we've done, not necessarily a marketing campaign, but like a system that we built with one of our clients. So they were taking our trainings and we sort of helped them build this. They're a B2B SaaS company with 1,500 employees, and their CEO was quite a heavy LinkedIn poster. So a lot of their like marketing content would come from his LinkedIn post, and that was actually having quite a performance on the business. So he was sharing the latest product updates that their team are working on, the new features that's going to improve the experience for clients. And what we actually did is this sort of concept around like when you have people in your teams posting content, the benefit of actually amplifying this from the rest of the company. So this is something that really works because of the company size that they have, that they're 1,500 people. But basically what we have done now is that whenever the CEO is posting something, we can actually take that post and what's called repurposing. So we're very bullish here at 9X on what we call content repurposing rather than content generation. I think there's some mixed results that you get from just giving ChatGPT a prompt and saying, hey, write this blog article. But when you actually have, let's say, the CEO creating a LinkedIn post saying why this new feature is important, what was involved in building it, when it's going to be released, the impact it's going to have on their clients, you can actually repurpose that. And for instance, for the sales team, we could generate new posts that they can do based off that one. And you can basically then have a large amount of your employees posting and sharing the updates. So rather than just the CEO saying, hey, this is what's happening at this company, you now have hundreds of your employees doing it. And I don't know if anyone sort of dabbled in like LinkedIn marketing. LinkedIn is probably one of the more expensive ad networks out there in the, if you compare it to like Facebook and Instagram. If you're paying for LinkedIn ads, so paying for reach, typically that would cost you like 25 to 30 euros for 1,000 impressions. And if you think about then, let's say of the like 1,000, 1,500 person company, if even only just 100 employees are actually sharing this news and posting it, it ends up being like you can get 150,000 impressions from that. And that results in around like 4,000 to 5,000 euros worth of ad spend with the equivalent, which is just pure organic. And so what's some really great strategies in that one is obviously you don't want to force your employees to like post everything on LinkedIn. What's great with AI is you can actually give context to what each employee's like tone of voice is, maybe what department they're from. So you actually end up suggesting a really good post to them that they're way more likely to then actually go and share because you've just made it super easy. So it's not about generating something from scratch, but rather taking this one idea and seeing, okay, how can we amplify that to every employee in our team and give them like send them something to Slack where they can say, hey, why don't you also share this on LinkedIn? You give them the picture, you give them their suggested prompt. They can still edit it if they want, but you're going to have much more success than if you say, hey, everyone, can you please write a post about this new feature that we have coming out?
Yeah, I like this example. It really kind of reminds me of the back then the old growth hacking techniques where you can really find great leverage at a very few cuts. So yeah, thank you, super interesting. And so for this case, you use the OpenAI API. Uh, like, did you use this, or like how it was built precisely? And did you use a platform such as Make or N8N? Um, and is it something that is actually accessible for someone that is completely new to automations?
Yeah. So version one of this we did actually do in Make, and it's something you definitely could do in Make. So if I would like split out the different tools, we sort of split them into three categories. You've got like the integration platforms that are like Make, N8N, and Zapier. What they allow you to do is build what we call AI API workflows. So you can say, for instance, like this example, whenever the CEO posts, that's sort of the trigger, and that we basically take this and uh, like create posts for each of the employees. You could do that in a tool like Make, these integration platforms using the OpenAI API, for instance. There are new tools on the market that are quite exciting, which are called AI agent platforms. And so AI agents is sort of this next level higher compared to the integration platforms. So in the integration platforms, you really have this like one-way logic. It starts here with a trigger, and then we're doing like sequential things, and you can bring AI into those steps. With AI agents, it's a little bit different, and it was like quite hard to first get my head around it. But basically, what you're doing is creating individual sort of like AI employees, and their goal isn't just to move an automation from point A to point B, but you're actually giving them a task to complete. And what's great in this is these agent platforms, while some of the like newer ones that have been released, so the two that we use mostly are Lindy.ai and Relevance.ai. I can drop some links in a second into the chat as well. They can get quite technical, but where I see the benefits is, for instance, especially like Lindy. Lindy is the platform I would recommend anyone to start with. For those of you where like automation is maybe a little bit daunting, because the automation really, when you're building an automation, even though you're not writing code, you still need to think like an engineer. Still need to have these like Boolean loops, like, okay, if this happens, then go down this path. If this happens, go down this path. Whereas what's cool with the AI agent platforms is you're creating this automation, but you're doing it in a prompt. So each step, you're basically prompting the LLM to you giving the instructions just like you would with ChatGPT, but this can happen in automated workflow. And what the agent will basically do is it will keep working until it gets a result that it thinks has, let's say, matched your initial prompt that you put in there. So I'm simplifying a little bit. And what's also really, I think, going to open this up to a lot more people, these agent platforms, is something that can be quite time consuming when you're building automations in like Make and N8N is mapping the different fields. So let's say you start with something in a database, you have AI generate some content and you want to save it somewhere, you would need to map all those different fields. In these AI agent platforms, what's really cool is you can basically decide to, instead of mapping each individual field, you say, let AI decide. So you'd say, hey, I'm giving AI the prompt. So I want you, for instance, like I'm taking the CEO's post, and now I would like you to write this post as if it was Stephen from our engineering team. And by the way, before you do that, go and check Stephen's last 3 LinkedIn posts so that you can see what Stephen's tone of voice is and make it sound like that. These are the sort of things that are going to be a lot more easier to build in these agentic platforms compared to the automation platforms like Make, Zapier, and N8N, but they're definitely a great way to get started.
Okay, great. And do you think that the results from the agentic platforms are satisfying? And in case you're dissatisfied with the first output, can you still edit it or customize it according to your needs and goals?
Yeah, definitely. So what's really cool with these AI agent platforms, let's sort of take it a step further from the automation platforms, is after the result has been done. So let's say, okay, in this case, we want to create a post for Steve from the engineering team. You can actually then also go back in and chat with it, just like we would with ChatGPT. So you can have the automation happen and say, hey, here's the suggested post. And then you can chat with it and say, oh, like you didn't quite nail his tone. Go back and check 4 more of his LinkedIn posts and do it again. And you can chat with it just like you would ChatGPT. And also one very important feature that you can bring into these, both, you can do this both in the integration platforms and also the agent platforms, is a concept known as human in the loop. So what you do is you would never, for instance, directly post to Steven's LinkedIn. And what you can do is say, hey, here's the suggested post. And then you just make the experience very comfortable for whether it's the employee to edit it or say in one click, yes, I like it, go and post it. So human in the loop is another very important concept that's sort of helping, let's say, like if you're not getting the initial result that you like.
Okay, great. So yes, so these are platforms that you definitely recommend for a part of automations.
Definitely.
Maybe going back to automations in general, even though these new platforms are really interesting, and I think we should, as marketers, definitely try them out. Going back to more traditional platforms such as Zapier, Make, and N8N, what would you recommend to start building automations and maybe going towards AI-driven marketing campaigns? Is there an ideal learning path for anyone who would like to achieve that?
Yeah. So I think maybe because I've got a slide on this, so maybe I can share that.
Yep.
It takes a little step back, but maybe this will make a lot more sense. Let me just share. You can see this all right?
Yeah. Thank you.
So first of all, like this was actually a sort of graph or visual created by the CEO of Airtable, or it was he presented this at one of the talks. So Airtable is another no-code platform. They're like a no-code database, and what they saw is like there's going to be 4 distinct categories around how businesses can actually roll out AI and roll out AI automations, especially like across business teams. And so he basically plotted this one with like the impact on the left-hand side and the bottom axis being effort. So impact being how much impact can these tools have? And then effort being what's the effort to actually implement these solutions. And so in the bottom left, we have the AI chat. So this is typically what you can think of a person chatting with ChatGPT, chatting with Claude. It had a massive impact when it first came out, but from a business context, this is quite limited. So first of all, it's very low effort because we saw everyone can just go and start chatting and you're interacting with AI in like the most natural way. But the impact is still limited because you basically can't bring this into automated workflows. It still involves a manual person chatting with ChatGPT. So you're still limited, for instance, to the hours of a day someone's going to be working. And obviously you're having to like copy paste data. I guess all of us have been guilty of this, is we want to use AI for something. So we like download some data, put it into ChatGPT, get an answer and paste it back. It was super impactful to start with, but that's sort of limited. And then the next level that we see there is like AI SaaS. So this is broken down into like 2 different areas. So one's going to be all the SaaS that you're currently using. And for marketers, a lot of that is around the CRM. So for instance, tools like HubSpot, Braze, Salesforce, all of these big players are bringing out their own AI features. And then we also have what we call like AI wrappers. So there's some new products launching on the market that are pretty much like wrappers around ChatGPT, but solving a specific problem. So some examples are like AI blog post writers or AI SDR team, where you can just go and buy a subscription and then you can start using that service. So you can pay, for instance, I think it's journalist.ai is like an AI blog writing solution where you can basically just then give it a prompt. It's going to write a blog. They've done all the hard work about making sure the prompts are really accurate. And then you could push that to your website, for instance. Again, this has slightly more impact and super low effort. The reason the impact here is limited is because you can't really customize it. So like HubSpot and Salesforce and Braze, for instance, have designed some AI features, but you have to use it in the exact way they intended. You can't really like customize this. And then on the very extreme side, you have like custom AI implementations. Here we're talking about stuff that engineers would actually implement. One big example of this is actually a Berlin-based startup, Klarna, that created their own AI chatbot that handles now all of its customer care cases. And I think in the first months, it was handling like 3 million conversations and it equated to like $90 million in profit. The thing is, this solution took over 4 months to implement and a team of 40 or 50 engineers. So it's not something that everyone can just do. Like custom AI, you really need to make sure you've got conviction about what you're building because it's going to have a lot of upfront investment. And now there's this big opportunity that also we at 9X and the CEO of Airtable, is really bullish on, which is what we call no-code AI. And this is really about using tools like Make, N8N, Zapier, Airtable, these new agent platforms where you make it super easy because people aren't writing code. So you now make it accessible to business people, because everyone can build in like a visual user interface, just like you do a Miro board. Maybe you're making a make scenario, but you can still actually build custom solutions, like, for instance, the LinkedIn post amplifier that I meant. So these are sort of the 4 areas that we see, like the 4 different types or ways you can roll out AI. I don't know, like, did that sort of make sense? And I think you had some follow-up questions around more like the different skills. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly.
So on that one, let me change slides. So the way we see it, one thing in like a big of a, like, let's say a reputation that no code has is a lot of people think no code and that it necessarily means no skills. And I'm like, sorry for everyone in the audience that was sort of hoping this, but we need to burst your bubble a little bit there. Like, we're strong believers that if you are going to build automations, and if you really want to get the most out of AI, you need to pick up some skills, and we sort of put it down into these 3 categories. Of course, like we showed in the slide before, you can already get, like, it's already very useful to have ChatGPT open. So for instance, when I'm like writing a LinkedIn post or when I'm writing a newsletter, I'm having ChatGPT there, like either correcting spelling mistakes, or I'm getting it to actually, I tend to put in a lot of filler words and I tend to talk a lot. So I'm getting it to basically reduce the amount of words I would normally write in an email. It's very useful, but if you really want to bring in AI in it with automation, you do need to have some skills. And we see that there's these 3 areas. And the first of which, what we emphasize, is basically field expertise. So that's if you're, and this is like basically years in marketing, and I guess that's going to be a large part of your growth marketing course, is like, let's say someone who's super capable with AI but has no growth marketing expertise still won't get the results that a growth marketer who's been a growth marketer for 10 years, who's now empowered by AI. I think now in the time we're at, it definitely is a lot shorter for you to get there. So maybe what previously you needed 10 years of experience, you can probably get in 2 if you're really driven. But this like domain expertise, so whether you're a CRM manager, like you knowing how CRMs should work, what are the optimal campaigns, AI is just going to help you, but AI is not going to replace that level of domain expertise. Then there's the experimental mindset. And lastly, the technical expertise. And as I said, like, no code doesn't mean no skills. And so the skills we've identified from our experience as well, we put it into 3 buckets. So the order's a bit, we have it in alphabetical order, but I would put this first is in understanding APIs. If you want to do any automation, understanding APIs is very critical. So for anyone that doesn't know, APIs is basically the way that different apps communicate with each other. So for instance, I can send an email to someone, and that's me sending an email to someone, or send like a letter if you're doing it in like a physical way. But just like that, like the different apps we use can also communicate with each other. And this can be done then programmatically. And so tools like Zapier, Make, and N8N, they've just made it super easy for people to use APIs. API was previously something that only developers would be touching. And now marketers, ops people, salespeople can actually leverage APIs. So if you've ever made a simple automation that says, hey, whenever a new email comes in with the term invoice, save the attachment and put it into a Google Drive, it's APIs that are actually doing those connections. Like, you have an API connected to your Gmail that is looking for new emails, and then you'd have an API to your Google Drive that would send that document there. So APIs, webhooks, understanding JSON, you'll be able to get to a certain, like, let's say, distance without knowing this stuff, because the no-code tools make it super easy. But as soon as you hit that first challenge, having an understanding of APIs will really take those automations to the next step. Then when we come to databases, this is really about building the systems and how you can store your data. What I mentioned there around, like, and especially for AI, one big thing to mention is what AI does not have is context around your business. So let's say you're a marketer, you start chatting with it saying, hey, I need to come up with a new YouTube strategy, or I'd like to start this new newsletter. You have to give it, like, prompt it so much and give it all this information about your business or your marketing team, all this context, to get some meaningful results. Now, if you can have data, your like customer data, also your internal documents, for instance, well structured in like a Notion base, all of these can actually be connected to these AI agents and AI systems. So you don't need to be prompting all this context all the time. So having a good fundamental understanding of like, what is a relational database? Why using an Airtable or a Notion database is better than having stuff unstructured in an Excel or a Google Sheet is also a very, let's say, valuable piece of let's say, knowledge that you should have. And lastly, then now getting deeper with AI. So what are AI agents? RAG, which is called retrieval augmented generation, is another technique that will basically help you get better results from an LLM. Again, this is a very similar, like I just see ChatGPT is like the no-code version of large language models. 5 years ago, there were large language models. It was just engineers that were interacting with them. Then ChatGPT came around, and now all of a sudden, us everyday non-developer people can also interact with large language models, but you're still going to, let's say, have better results if you take your learning a little bit further, understand like what are the best prompt frameworks? How can I improve my prompts? How can I pass the LLM my company's data in a safe way? Increasing those skills will also definitely result in, let's say, better results long term.
I fully agree. I also started to learn automating with all these platforms, and I can confirm that learning how to do an API call, a webhook is so important, and it really boosts your workflows. So yes, I definitely recommend it. And prompt engineering, learning how to prompt, designing the right inputs to get the right output, super important as well for all of your campaigns and personalization. Yes, for marketing, it's definitely a game changer. Okay, great. I see that it's already 7. So maybe we can move on to the question from the audience section. So really, please use the questions feature at the bottom right of your screen to ask your question so we can see them. Now we just have Mohamed asking about which tool you were referring to. Maybe about the agentic platform.
Yeah, so it's Lindy, and I shared now the links to both Lindy and Relevance, if you want to take a look at those.
Okay, thanks a lot. Okay, and I see that we have questions in chat. We have Kirill asking if you use web scraping for marketing and any use case that you might have, and maybe actually using AI.
Yeah. So what's interesting, like web scraping, let's say 5 or 6 years ago. So throughout my let's say journey, I've also worked at like B2B companies, and they're the marketing team sort of responsible for generating leads, even outbound leads. So we definitely did some web scraping in the past. What's funny with AI is I see it slightly differently. Previously, when you're doing like web scraping, because it's in the result of, hey, we need to find 100 leads, or we've got this list somewhere, can we just like extract them all? And you would sort of do this like big bulk operations. What's very exciting now in the time of AI is that you can do like ad hoc web. It's not really web scraping, but rather LLMs, AIs, and these AI agents have the ability to browse the web. And so one use case that we have for us at 9X is whenever someone signs up on our website, we ask for their name and email, and they're like, book a meeting with us. They're interested about trainings or workshops that we're doing. And previously, like, we're obviously quite busy. We're a small team. And sometimes we'd just be like running into meetings and being like, oh, like we didn't really do any research on who the person is, where they're from, what they might be interested in. And so what you can do now with these agent platforms is, for instance, we have an agent that when someone signs up on our website, we take their name and email address, and they're performing a Google search based on first like the company, and then trying to get this person's LinkedIn. And then they're even able to go to that person's LinkedIn profile, say, okay, maybe the person changed jobs recently, or any important milestones, what trainings they've already done. And so you can actually do these very specific, what previously web scraping, you sort of had to like set it up once and run it in bulk, and then you'd get the bulk result. Now you can build these agents that are just, it's not really web scraping anymore. They're just browsing the web like a person would. So just like you have to think about it almost as a way, the instructions you give to an intern maybe out of university who doesn't have any context about your business, if you prompt and these AI agents the same way you would give them the instruction to say, hey, whenever someone signs up on our website, I want you to do a Google search, find their LinkedIn. After you found their LinkedIn, go to their profile and like send us some important facts. Everyone would love to have these assistants. And now you can actually program them. You don't need to sort of employ people to do that.
Yeah, super interesting. I think the questions didn't come up, but I'm still asking it. Are these tools pricey? How is the pricing structured?
Yeah. So both of them, both Lindy and Relevance, are basically token based. So it is a pay as you use. Both of them have like free options to get started. So what's cool is you can definitely go and play around with it. But what I think is great is it's really in some other, like I think there'll be other tools that come out that there are even like enterprise solutions where you sort of have to put like a big like 10,000 euro subscription fee. It's not the case. You can literally get started with like $10 worth of credits. And it's really just pay as you use. And so you can always make that calculation as in like, okay, how much am I willing to spend if every time someone fills out a form on our website, that research is done for me? Like it's either I'm doing it and then I'm paying with my own time, or I have a very, and like the models are only getting cheaper. So they basically are just sort of putting their premium on top of the, like, let's say API usage tokens of OpenAI, of Anthropic, and things like that. And obviously they have their own server costs. But what's good is it's really like a scalable way. You don't need to put any like big upfront costs. It's really pay as you go.
Yeah, it's great. And this kind of system is also great for instance, one-shot campaign where you just need it for a single action and then move on to another strategy. Okay, so good to know. We also have May ones asking, where do you see the most growth opportunities for AI in marketing over the next few years? So maybe what are the next big marketing AI marketing use case that you start to see or that are developing currently?
One big one is obviously because there's a few of the use cases we gave already, which is if like marketing is sort of outside of product a little bit, but maybe for some more like product marketing use case, obviously more and more tools are baking AI into their product. So we even see it with like LinkedIn is not necessarily an AI tool or an AI company. And also it goes like everyone thought when AI first came out that all these like content platforms will be like putting quite hard restrictions around, hey, we don't want people using AI to generate content. Now, when you start writing a LinkedIn post, a big thing button comes up saying write with AI. And I think it's really all of these products are realizing if they can make the experience for users a lot smoother by putting in AI in smart ways, I think that's going to be the biggest like lever, because it really depends, especially if you're like a content platform or you need your users to do some actions, fill out their profiles. Maybe AI can make that a lot smoother and you'll like be able to onboard your users way faster. So I think baking AI into products that are not necessarily AI products is something we're going to see happening even more.
Yes, and it's already started on so much platforms. Always fun to test on different products. I think we are over with questions. Sorry about the light issue during the whole talk. Okay, great. Thanks a lot, Jan, for all the insights. Where
I do maybe have one more quick thing I can share, and especially what we see a lot for marketers is in most cases when we see marketers trying to use AI, they're really looking at the left-hand side thinking, hey, these are all the things that I already do, and I want to see if I can like offload them to AI. One way to sort of like switch this a little bit is think about all the things that you're not currently doing but wish you did, and can you actually delegate this to AI first? So that's exactly my example of we were very bad at doing the research on our leads before going to meetings. Maybe your company, you're a very small company and you're not yet replying to all the reviews online. Is everyone sort of got this tendency of like, okay, if I'm not doing it myself, I don't know how it works yet, so therefore I want to do it, and then I'm only going to automate it after I've already done it. But really, we're in the world what we call like AI first. So for anything that you think is like, think about all the things that if you had 10 more employees, what would you love your marketing team to be doing? And think, can we delegate at least the first version of this to AI? Or can AI really help us in actually rolling this out? And that's where we can use like the things of human in the loop. Maybe if our team is not very good at replying to customer reviews on Google Maps or in App Store reviews, maybe we can always get AI to generate a first response, what it thinks it should be, and you just make it super easy for your team to like validate that. That's still going to be way better than in 6 months' time saying, geez, we still haven't had any time to get to those reviews. So really think, what can you delegate? Obviously, it helps when you have the skills to be able to build these automations, but that's like one piece of advice. And obviously, I would not be a growth marketer without putting in a little growth marketing hack. So if you do want to connect with me on LinkedIn, feel free to scan the QR code. Would love to chat more about AI and automation, especially for marketing.
Yes, thanks a lot, Jan. I do love this AI first approach as well. Whenever we start a project, we also try to implement this mindset. It really help to find solutions with AI and have the capacity to pick what we are going to automate or delegate with AI. Okay, great. So thanks a lot for sharing all your experience with us. Super useful.